what do you guys have to consider before that decision is made in May?
I think more than anything, just from like a money standpoint, do we get something done with him now in terms of a long-term contract? I think that's kind of the thinking right now.
You're going to let a lot of guys test free agency. I know you have guys that you said you wanted to bring back. What does that process look like? Do you have, do they come back to you with an offer and you decide whether you're going to match it? I'm just curious.
So we'll stay in constant communication with their agents.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be here at the combine. They'll talk to other teams, kind of get a gauge for what other teams think or what other teams would want to pay, and then they'll circle back to us at the right time, and we'll come to a decision then.
And given the number of guys that you have eligible to test free agency, how do you balance that in terms of perhaps a wave of new guys coming in, or just wanting to balance the continuity within the system?
Yeah, I think there's certain guys that are a priority to bring back and that we'd like to bring back, but I think we're at the point now too where you'd like to bring some young talent in, some new talent in, and just kind of infuse this team in that sense.
Is some of that just because the turnover with you and Dave last year and kind of getting an idea of what you want that locker room to look like?
Yeah, I think so. I think also, you have to bring some young guys in, and the young guys that do come in, you have to let them develop as well. So, I think bringing these young guys in, like a Trevin and some of our other young rookies, this gives them an opportunity to step up on the leadership side of things.
Dan, when you look at the division as a whole, how close do you think the NFC South is to being better than it's been lately and putting multiple teams in the playoffs, that kind of thing?
I can only speak for us. I feel like, for us, our goal every year is going to be to win the division, to get a home playoff game, and then to make a run. And that's going to be the goal every year as long as I'm the GM. In terms of the other teams in the division, I'm not so much concerned about them. I'm concerned about getting our roster right and making ours the most competitive in the NFC South.
Do you ever look at, Atlanta's going with a young quarterback now, that might change strategies for other teams in the division, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it might. I think definitely you have to keep track of what these other teams are doing in the division. You can't be naive to that. But at the same time, you really have to focus on who you are and your philosophy and building the team the way that we want to build it.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
You said the goal is always to win the division and make the playoffs. How close do you feel like this team is to making that goal?
I'm not going to put any timelines on it, but again, that's our goal every year. We're going to have that goal. We're going to work towards that goal, and I think that's what we have to do. We have to work. We have to work hard. And we are working hard, so we're gonna build this thing the right way, through the draft. We'll supplement in free agency, but we'll also be disciplined in our approach.
Dan, we all know.
An update on a couple of the other players. I don't know if you answered about Derek Brown, where he is in his recovery, his rehab.
Yeah, Derek's doing good. Excited about his progression in the rehab process. He looks really good. I see him walking around the building. He looks big, he looks strong. Really excited for him to come back in 25.
We all know that you had a background with Dan Jackson. You guys signed him to a contract. What were the conversations like when you guys were holding yourselves accountable for the season with Dave and Brant and you guys in general when you decided you wanted to make some decisions like Shaq and Dave?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you just have to be real with things. Whether, Dame was a signing of mine or Shaq was here for a long time. Obviously, we have a lot of respect, but we have to do what's best for the organization in the big picture. So that's really the conversation is this what's best for the organization, and that's why we made those moves.
You mentioned Corbett and Mays up there as guys you'd like to bring both of them back. How much did that group become kind of the personality of what you guys were doing last year?
Yeah, the offensive line, we got some characters, but they're also some good football players, so they wouldn't be as funny characters if they weren't good football players. So we're excited about that group, and they're going to continue to get better.
How much have you seen the off-field camaraderie?
You were asked about versatile players.
Mm-hmm.
A guy like Jalen Walker, he comes here in the linebacker group, but Do you view him as an edge? You heard about where most teams see him?
Yeah, I don't know how most teams see him. I know he's a talented player. There's a lot of talented players in this draft. He's just one of many. So excited to just keep digging and getting to know these guys and move forward that way.
Where do you have him?
Say that again?
Where do you view his position?
I'm going to kind of keep that close to the vest right now, but he's a good player.
Dan, kind of on that note, when you're at an event like this, where you've got hundreds of guys coming through every day, how do you find the little nuances to kind of separate who might work for your team and what works well?
Yeah, I think when we bring these guys in the interview setting, it's finding out about their football story and how did they first come to love football. Just kind of hear them talk us through the process of how they fell in love with the game. So I think it's pretty obvious the guys that love it and the guys that are maybe doing it for the wrong reasons. So we have our different ways of asking questions and getting to the answer. But I think that's the biggest thing is when they're telling their story and how excited they're getting about the game of football and that's the biggest way.
You guys made. Oh, sorry.
Dan, it's considered a deep draft for the front seven on the defense. What goes into the calculus of saying, okay, we're going to take the pick at 8 versus perhaps trading back? Like, can you take that into
Yeah, I think with the 8th pick, obviously, we have the choice of either staying there or we have the choice of, trading up, trading back. I think, in the case of maybe trading back, you really got to count your numbers and see how many guys you'd be willing to take, and then you drop back accordingly. So, that's our thing right there. So, and I think if we do stay, we're obviously going to take, if a guy's even with a need, we're always going to take the need over the one.
Will this week help a lot in that calculus?
Yeah, I think just kind of getting to know these guys. Obviously you only get to spend like 20 minutes with them, so we have a lot more work to do on these guys before we make a decision on whether we like a guy or not. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Through the spring process, through pro days, maybe even some private workouts. So we're excited about that.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. No
Thanks,
problem.
Dan.
Yep.